It's that time of year again when everyone asks, what do I get my dad, husband, boyfriend, father, brother, basically any guy in my life for the holidays? Come on, you know we got the perfect gift. That's right, our favorite pants, the Perfect Jean, are back to take the guesswork out of holiday gift shopping for the guy in your life. Oh, and not only do they have the most comfortable pants and shorts that won't crush a guy's jingle bells, now they've also got the perfect tee. That's right, they've created a t-shirt that takes the same stretch and quality used for their jeans, so a guy can now dress perfect from head to, well, ankle, because they don't make shoes. Mira, I've got the jeans, the shorts, the shirts. La verdad que it's probably the most comfortable outfit I've ever worn. And you know we like to give our listeners a little something something. So use code PERO20 at theperfectjean.nyc to save 20% off your order. That's right. PERO20 gets you 20% off the jeans, the shorts, the shirts, todo. So this holiday, your khakis and get the perfect gift from the Perfect Jean. And don't forget to use the code PERO20 for 20% off your order.
Hey people, this is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And
this is
Season
Season 4 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
Je suis prête. Vous êtes très aussi?
Oh, we're so cosmopolitan here.
Or, you don't get this reference. Wendy? Yes, Lisa.
That's Prince.
Is the water warm enough? Yes, Lisa. Shall we begin? That's from Purple Rain.
I said Prince.
Well, everybody, welcome to episode 185.
Wow. I was like, damn it, you really went all the way back.
185.
185.
185. How is everybody?
We got 2 more left for 2021.
We do. Wow.
Crazy, huh?
It's December.
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
No, yeah, they hit. St. Patrick's Day is already gone. Yeah, St. Patrick's Day came and went.
But I'm not wearing green.
Yeah, it's Easter.
Am I? No, I'm not wearing green.
It's Easter.
Oh, well, I like the Easter candy, so that's good.
Oh my God, it's like every year it's faster and faster, and I can't find a balsam fir tree. But anyway.
Oh, that's why you don't have a tree up yet.
No, but anyway, everybody, welcome to episode 185 of Pero Let Me Tell You. How is everybody? How's our December going?
I think everybody's December is off to a nice start, but
just a few days into December.
I mean, I think we know who's having the best December.
Who?
Miss Britney Spears. You know, she just turned 40, and she got to celebrate it without being in a conservatorship.
Oh, I missed Instagram this week.
Well, no, her birthday's December 1st.
Right. Oh, yes.
Yeah, so.
Britney Spears turned 40.
40. It's funny because she's only 2 years younger than me, but I feel like she's younger.
Yeah.
Right?
It feels like she's younger.
Right.
It feels like her and like that whole crowd, Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera.
If you had told me they were like 34,
they're
I believe
much
you.
younger than us, and they're not.
They're not.
We're actually pretty much the same age.
We're contemporaries, yeah.
Yeah. We would have been on the Mickey Mouse Club with them.
Damn it. If only I had talent.
But you did try out for O-Town.
I did try out for O-Town.
Which is more than most people would have.
That's true. And I kind of found out Destiny's Child was breaking up before anybody else did as a result of that.
Why? I forget.
Because they were holding auditions for the Destiny's Child replacements that same weekend.
Oh, is this before the same members of Destiny's Child found out?
Yes.
Before. Well, it was LaToya and Latavia.
Yep.
Torn in between the two.
They were doing auditions for O-Town, and there was also girl group auditions. But the rumor when we were there was that like, oh yeah, no, it's for Destiny's Child. Like they're gonna.
Did you like Destiny's Child? I don't. You know, it's funny. I don't remember if you did or didn't.
I don't have anything against Destiny's Child. I wouldn't consider myself like a huge mega fan, but like I like their bops.
I have to tell you, the first time I ever saw Destiny's Child, a video of theirs, was No Part 1.
And you were in.
I immediately fell in love with Beyonce.
You were in.
I was in. I was in all the way. And there was just something about Beyonce. Mm-hmm. And mira that I also thought that LaToya was really pretty as well.
Yeah. They're all pretty girls.
But there was something about Beyonce. And then when No Part 2 came out, Remember that one?
Yes.
Boy, you see me, I could see you in your eye. That one. That video, it's just Beyonce. It's just, you knew she... It's funny because they were all talented and they were all pretty, but there was just something.
And I wouldn't say in the
Beyonce.
first couple of videos that they were focusing on Beyonce either. So to your point, like she had an it factor.
Beyonce always had a little more attention, even in the very, very early videos than the other ones did. But I mean, even if she wouldn't have, it was just. I'm telling you, I'll never forget that because Beyonce is actually 41.
Okay.
Right? And no, Beyonce's 42. 9. I'm thinking of B-Day. No, 9, 1, B-Day. Like, whatever. She's 40.
Okay.
So, again,
contemporary.
We were like 1 or 2 years older than her. And I remember when the Destiny's Child first album came out, the CD was enhanced. Remember enhanced CDs?
Yes. When you could pop it into your computer to see the video, ladies and gentlemen.
And it had like a little interview of Destiny's Child
Like a featurette.
where Beyonce said that she had just turned 16. And I was like already like 18. Wow. And I was like, wow, like this would be illegal. Like, you know.
I like that was your first thought.
but you know, whatever. I'm like, oh my God. But she was such a like, you know, mujerona.
She was
right?
very mature.
And I was like, you're
poised.
16, you know? But yeah, enhanced CDs.
I hadn't thought about that in forever.
You know what was annoying about enhanced CDs?
That it would take forever to
load. Yes.
Yeah.
Especially when you put it in your computer. It was like, I don't want to watch the extra videos.
That damn real player.
Yes. Real player. Oh my God. I hadn't thought about real player in forever.
Yep. Real player, babe. Yep.
Wow.
That was our MP3 player. No, not even. It was for quick times and videos and all that, yeah.
Real player, coño.
See, I can pull it out from the Wayback Machine too sometimes.
Yeah. I'll never forget that the Backstreet Boys CD was enhanced as well. Like I'm thinking of all of my enhanced CDs. Destiny by Gloria Estefan was also enhanced.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It was. None of Mariah CDs were enhanced.
No?
No. Because I feel that enhanced CDs had a very small window. Like
if you didn't release it within like that 1 year,
yes,
you weren't going to get an enhanced
You were
CD.
either too early or too late. Like
right.
I feel it was like
you may have gotten an enhanced single.
Yeah, but not CD. No,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, not the album, but like because sometimes the single would come with the video.
You know what I just thought of? This is a pretty good. Now that we're thinking about like 90s pop,
yeah, seriously,
late 90s pop. How when Britney Spears' album came out, Baby One More Time,
yeah.
I hated the cover so much that I had a trip planned to Europe. I'm like, no shit, I'm buying the international version of
the
this.
Australian one, I think it was, right?
No, I have the European one, which is her like
with the prayer hands.
Yes, that she looks really pretty in.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't want that other shit. Like
such a bad cover.
Such a terrible. No, it's such a terrible cover.
Generally speaking, she doesn't have good album covers.
It's such a terrible cover. But a better cover does exist, which is the international one.
Right. It's not like, well, that's it. Like
right. This is what
right.
you get. Right. No, the other one was so much better, but yet we got this one. But then again, the rest of the world got from I Don't Know How to Live,
Born to Make You Happy as a single,
and we got From the Bottom
of a Broken Heart.
Anyway,
I mean, you know, she looks nice autumnally, but you know. I mean, who doesn't look cute on a rope swing and a bucket hat?
But that song sucks.
Not a good song.
Especially compared to the other one that was so good.
That's also why it was the last single. That was when you had to release, like, you know, if you had a successful album, you had to do at least 4 singles.
Right.
So they were like, you know what, fuck it. Here's a ballad.
Yeah, here's a ballad.
Here's a ballad, fine.
Yeah. Okay, bueno. If you're in Miami this weekend.
This is true.
If you're in Miami this weekend or.
This week, really.
This week or, bueno, it's an international thing now.
It's true. Well, we have listeners in Italy.
Basel.
Basil. Yes, not basil, people.
Art Basel is in town.
It's not a spice.
So, I have.
How do you feel about?
I have mixed feelings about
Basel
Art
and
Basel.
Miami Art Week.
So, when you know the years that I lived downtown, what great years were those? You know how I miss living downtown. Anyway, I remember that when did Art Basel actually start?
I want to say the 80s.
In the 80s,
it wasn't as big of an international thing as it is now.
Because I remember the first year that I went to Art Basel was 2012. So it's going to be 10 years next year. And I remember it was big, but it was nowhere near.
No, what it is now? No. It is a thing.
That
now.
I remember that you can go to the, galleries and the tents.
Yes.
And just call it a day. It wasn't like this huge, like,
event.
Comemierdas, right? So I have mixed feelings about it because on the one hand, it is an international, show or expo.
Art Basel, actually, it says here it started in 1970.
Oh, okay. Well, no, but it wasn't big.
No. Again, when it started is one thing, and when it became...
I mean, I don't want to say that you and I have been masters of the pulse of Miami, but, we've always known kind of what's...
That's going to be our next shirt.
What?
Just that picture of you and me. It says Masters of the Pulse of Miami.
We knew about Santa's Enchanted Forest, y La Feria,
right.
y Calle Ocho.
Right. So we would hear things.
Right, but Art Basel in the 90s, like, we didn't...
No, that wasn't a thing.
Right. So on the one hand, I appreciate the international exposure that it gives Miami, because Miami is an international city.
And it's art.
And it is art, which at the end of the day...
It's culture.
It's culture, and we appreciate art. Right. But on the other hand, I think that Art Basel has become this kind of now ridiculous, over-the-top thing. That whole banana thing. There is no... I have a very open mind. I have a very open mind. That's something that I pride myself on, is having an open mind. There's nobody that's going to convince me that the banana to the wall with the duct tape is not only art, but that it's sold for...
millions of dollars.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just think that the pomp and circumstance and now I feel that it's one of these things that locals just don't go. I haven't gone in years. I went for several years.
The last time I went to anything Art Basel was actually the year that Melissa came down.
Right, that you went to like 20 expositions and
because we had tickets for free things, and then we just walked around Wynwood, but we did that. We just popped in, popped out, popped in, popped out, and
I stopped going for that same reason, because now there's such a pump and circumstance, and the tickets, and the this, and the traffic, and
but it's almost like anything. This is why we can't have nice things in Miami, right? Because if you really stop and think about, at the end of the day, and you know what, art has its pendulum, right? On the one hand, you have like, I'm bohemian and I'm artsy, blah blah blah, and then you've got on the side, the people who are like, oh Muffy, the art is delightful, right? I believe Basel started in the former, and it's become the latter. And what that means is that in this delightfully shallow city that we live in, that likes to tirarse peomas a tocar culo, it has now turned into like what most things in Miami turn into. Oh, did you go? Are you VIP? Are you getting in? There's Louis Vuitton. Oh, did you get the tickets? Oh, but you only got the general admission. Oh, but it's become that bullshit.
We look down at general admission.
I mean, yeah, it's that bullshit thing, right? Where it's and there's still, I will say, there are still pockets, like in Wynwood, where you'll have a local gallery that will just show some local artists and just have a fun time with it and really embrace the spirit of what it initially was about. But it's become a comemierdas of Miami.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh,
I'm not interested in going.
Oh, are you going to this party? Are you going to this thing? And most of the times, it's not even exhibits. It's all the parties that are around Art Basel. Take a look. The average Insta posts, on social media, all these people who will hashtag, Art Basel or Basiling or whatever. I will say 7 out of 10, the picture is not at an exhibition. It is not at a gallery.
It's not having to do with art.
It is at a party.
Right.
It's at a party being hosted in honor of Art Basel.
Right.
Because we can't have nice things.
Yeah, no, I'm like, I have no interest in it whatsoever, and I do enjoy art.
I love that shit.
And I do enjoy art. We used to go back. I mean, it seems like an eternity now, but in the first half of the aughts, when we would go to Wynwood for gallery hopping.
Do you remember the gallery hops in the Gables?
Yeah.
There's no galleries in the Gables anymore.
Because they just
closed. There's just no galleries.
Right.
So they don't do the gallery hop anymore.
I didn't realize they don't have gallery hops in the Gables anymore.
No. They used to have it the first Friday of the month.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope. Doesn't exist anymore. Because there's just no galleries there.
No, but even in Wynwood, like that, you would go and you would gallery hop, and you would have the wine and cheese.
That was in the design district before it became commercial.
Yes.
Now the design district is just Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Fendi, like all the high end stores.
That big circle thing.
Yeah, that you know what? Let's not talk about that area makes me upset.
Right. So like I remember we used to go there, and we used to spend like it was a great
2 hours minimum.
Great way to spend like an evening.
Yeah, it was a Saturday night,
and it was very unique because it was very Miami, and then Wynwood already had that Wynwood kind of vibe and flair.
It was already being bohemian-ish.
But it wasn't like overly commercial. And again, we're not people that were like, oh, commercial.
Yeah, we're not. We're
not those people.
No.
But there's a balance,
right?
And do they even have gallery hopping in Wynwood anymore? I
know they don't have it in the design district because there's no galleries there anymore.
There's the Gucci gallery.
There's the Gucci galleries, and the Prada galleries. I think in Wynwood, I believe there are some galleries. Whether they do gallery hops, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Right, because I think that Wynwood now, the reason why Wynwood became the Wynwood we know now, it's because that's where all these artists went to rent space that was cheap. They made it obviously artistic. The murals, it was very like off the beaten path.
Yeah.
And that's what made Wynwood. And then, then rent goes up.
Exactly. And I'm not one of these people who starts to talk about gentrification, but that's what it is.
But it is gentrification. But
that's what it is.
And, gentrification is one of these things that, like, on the one hand, there's many good attributes to it, but on the other hand, there's a lot of negative attributes to it as well. Well, not attributes, negative, implications on it as well, because look at what happened to Wynwood. Like,
oh yeah, have you been to Wynwood recently-ish?
Yeah, I love Wynwood.
I love going there. It's fun. It's nice. You can still park and walk around. But yeah, Wynwood is not. It's different. It's not the same. It's different. Not the same. I know we sound like we're 90 years old, but it's not the same Wynwood.
I still love Morgan's though.
Oh, it's so good. I feel like Morgan's is still in like the edge of Wynwood where it hasn't completely changed yet.
Yeah, and I like Graham's.
Oh, I love going to Gramps.
Yeah. But even there, like, you'll find like stores that it's like, why is this in Wynwood? And then it's like, oh yeah, that's right, because it's Wynwood.
Well, the Shinola store.
The Shinola store closed.
Okay, but it was in Wynwood.
Yeah, and to me, I know this is gonna sound really like, ugh, that person. To me, seeing a Ferrari or a Lamborghini in Wynwood is sort of a contradiction.
It's not right.
This is not what this started off.
Yeah, no. As. There should be like a 1970 VW Bug.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to see the latest sports car.
There is a place for that.
Yes,
there's many places for that. That's called the rest of Miami.
That's called Brickell.
Yes, or Miami Beach,
which is not that far.
Right. But yeah, I've told you I love art from a very, very young age. I used to love, especially when, remember we used to go to New York every year growing up.
Yeah.
And from a very young age, like 12, 13, we used to go to the Met. And I loved going to the Met. Like, I remember the very first time I saw A Persistence of the Memory by Dali, because I think it was in like 92, 93. I was really, really young. That the Met was having an exposition of Dali. And I feel that Dali is one of these people that when you first see his art, you either get it or you don't get it.
Yeah, it's gonna make an impression one way or the other.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, it makes an impression on you, and it did. And I love Dali. I have books of him and everything.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff, but this all other pomp and circumstance, like, who I actually, this may be very controversial what I'm about to say, who I lost a lot of respect for a few years back was Banksy.
Really? How come?
Because I kind of liked what he was doing, of like that nobody knew who he was, and it was like this.
We still don't know who he is, right?
Yes and no. Like, I think the identity is not known, but within the art world, he has to be known by some people because
how else is he selling?
Right.
Who do they make the check out to?
Yeah,
they have to make the check to somebody.
I kind of like the concept that he would go and
make a mural,
and it was sort of like, it wasn't graffiti, but it was like graffiti.
It was guerrilla art.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought it was pretty, like the little girl with the balloons. Yeah. But I sort of lost a lot of respect for him in that whole thing of the image of the painting,
the one that shredded
itself, because that was a ploy. that was done on purpose, and that was done for the purpose of knowing that it was going to be sold,
Right.
20 times,
More.
And it's like, oh, I feel that's so not what he was about.
Yeah, I think there's that's fair, but I think I don't know. Our artists in general, I think, are very difficult to understand as a rule.
I didn't like that. I
didn't like that either. I thought it was. I was like, you know what? Eso
it was very gimmicky.
Gana como mierda, yeah. But I don't know. Like I actually think about a lot. Friend of the podcast, Vic Garcia.
Oh my God, Vic is awesome.
And I think
what I always think about Vic.
What?
Vic was the very last interview we did before coronavirus.
Coño, that's true. That's true. He was.
The very last. He was like the last in-person interview we had for a while.
That's true.
And he was so great when we went to his house and all that.
But he's the type of person who, like, and this is why I say, like, I'm a little torn in the sense of what you're saying about Banksy. Like, he sells his art. He makes a living off of it. He that's his job, right? That's what he does. But when he talks to you about his work, there is still just a passion there. And when he posts about, when he's creating something, like it's so genuine. The way that he speaks, about the characters that he creates, like the way when he starts talking about them, how they like inhabit a world and they're
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah, I do.
I believe it because
right, but
that's what I'm saying.
But many times the issue is not so much the artist; it's the people. That it's like this craziness. I mean, obviously the artist is there to make money, and that is their living and their livelihood.
Right.
And of course, make as much money as you can. But like the people, like for example, I like burrito, but I mean, are you going to stand in front of a burrito and be like, oh my God, look at
so much depth.
The depth and the juxtaposition. It's like, no, burrito's art is cute. It's cute, it's bright, and that's what it's supposed to be.
It'll make you feel happy.
Right. It's not the type of painting you stand in front and go, it's very je ne sais quoi. It's burrito.
Yeah.
And I have a burrito. Like, I love burrito.
Yeah. You
right?
either like it or you don't, because either you find it makes you happy or it doesn't, and you move on. Yeah.
But that whole, like, again, pomp and circumstance. So people that, with certain paintings and certain pieces of art that I'm like, it's not that deep, people. Like, really. Like, it's not.
Like, I promise.
It's not that deep. But, I like Monet.
Because it's just, oh my God, and I'm thinking of Clueless.
Why?
Because there's,
I love Monet, actually.
No, the line in Clueless is, what do you think of Fulana? And like, oh, she's a total Monet. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, she looks good from far, but up close, she's just a big old mess.
Right, yeah. And Monet, yeah. I do. I like Monet. I like the cafe, the Parisian cafe. I like, the sunflowers. I think it's pretty.
Yeah. My favorite is Lichtenstein and Warhol, but I'm a pop art boy.
Okay. I get
Lichtenstein,
who's constantly looking for Brad. Like, I like that exhibit that we saw.
Yeah, the one in Chicago.
In Chicago. I liked it. Andy, I'm sorry. Andy, I don't totally get.
But I like Andy for the same reason that I like Brito. There's just something about looking at it and his use of colors that just, it makes me happy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess obviously the thing with Andy is...
Andy's art was the point of the art.
Right, but I guess it's what you always say, that what is art?
Right. Well, it's also time and place. Because Andy Warhol, looking back now, it's very easy to be like, oh, whatever, he did a soup can, there's a banana with duct tape.
Right.
But really, that banana with duct tape owes its existence because of the soup can.
Right. That's a good argument. Wow, we're having such intellectual conversations here.
I know. But let me tell you.
Yeah. Before we go on to another topic, there's something that came out last week that I thought, when I saw Twitter, I shouldn't have been on Twitter.
Why don't you ever listen to me?
Okay. I'm on Twitter because since I sort of work in the political world now, if you're into politics, you have to be on Twitter.
It's sad, but true.
You have to. I don't like Twitter. I don't really tweet much. What I do tweet is a lot of times retweets. I think it's vile. I think it brings out the worst in people.
It's a cesspool of social media.
It is awful. Just awful. But anyway, I'm on Twitter the other day. Rolling Stone released their top 10 artists of all time. I'm
All
sorry,
time?
Billboard. And I'm going to read them
Of
to
all
you.
time.
Of all time. Billboard.
Okay.
It's the people you think would be on there.
Okay, so I'm thinking, should I start guessing while you pull up the list? So I'm guessing there's a Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, Little Richard, Madonna, Joni Mitchell, because she's just always on every list.
No.
Beyonce will probably be in there.
Hold on.
Jay-Z.
Hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm taking stabs at this.
Okay,
Like
so
totally.
Billboard released their
Okay.
last week their greatest Hot 100 artists of all time, the top 10
Okay.
greatest of all time.
So is it? But then, since it's Billboard, is this based on sales?
Right? It's based on the Billboard charts.
Okay.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
So,
So, obviously it's based on the Billboard chart, so it's in a way based on popularity and sales.
Okay,
and
got it.
Chart positions and all that.
so not necessarily artistic merit. Not
in terms
necessarily.
of critical acclaim, no.
Okay.
Right. So, number one.
Are we
I
going?
should start 10.
Yeah, start with 10, yeah.
Number 10 was Michael Jackson.
Okay.
What people have to understand is that Michael Jackson, although as impactful as he was, Michael Jackson doesn't have that big of a catalog of
Well,
music
also, he's probably, if they were to put,
as a solo artist.
right, if they were to put him with the Jackson 5, he'd probably be higher.
Because Michael Jackson really solo albums, all he had was Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, and Dangerous. That's 4 albums. Because the last one he released, what was it called?
The dance.
You rock my world, you know you did.
Oh my God.
And everything.
I like that. Yeah, ese mismo, huh?
Unforgivable, unforgettable, whatever.
Whatever.
That had one hit. So you're really talking about the bulk of his
It's 4 albums, yeah.
It was 4 albums. So it was number 10, Michael Jackson. Number 9, Janet Jackson.
Okay.
Number 8, Stevie Wonder.
Ooh.
Number, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, Stevie Wonder. Then number 5, Mariah Carey. Of
Okay.
course. Number 4, Elton John.
Okay.
Number 4, Elvis Presley. I'm sorry. Number 4, Elton John.
Okay.
Number 3, Elton John. I'm sorry. Number 2, Madonna, and number 1, Beatles.
Okay.
Right.
I'm
so
surprised Cher's not on there.
so you could swap some people in and out, one over the other.
But I'm not mad
this
at that
is
list.
I'm not mad at this
it. Yeah,
list
yeah.
either. So you have to hear on Twitter the people talking about this list.
But do they understand how this list was compiled?
So
because again,
So
it's based
this,
on sales.
This was somebody's tweet.
God.
The Beatles is number 1. Who likes the Beatles? How can anybody? I don't know anybody who's been influenced by the Beatles.
Was this person 9?
Another person.
Because I am not the biggest Beatles fan.
What other person?
Okay.
Madonna. Why is Madonna on there? Like, who likes any Madonna song? And I'm like, okay. I always tell you this because I remember
Fucking A.
being much, much, much younger,
Right,
like being a
right.
teenager.
Right.
Like, me and my
Right. We remember being of a certain age, right?
photographic memory.
Yes.
Like I remember things. I remember how I felt. I remember how I thought. I remember knowing of much older artists and the impact that they had, even if it wasn't the music that I was into, even if I didn't know their whole album.
Again, see Joni Mitchell.
I knew about the Beatles. And, as I've told you, my parents didn't even listen to the Beatles. So
Yes.
I had to discover the Beatles on my own.
You, at best, were going to know about Boney M.
Right. I knew obviously about Elvis Presley. I knew about the Eagles. I knew about the Rolling Stones.
Janis Joplin.
I knew about all these people,
Yeah.
even though they weren't the music of my time. Even if I probably didn't know most of their songs,
But
I
you
knew
understood the impact of
the
their
impact that they
existence.
had.
Yeah.
You know what I also think it is? Because in the 80s and early 90s, we had a lot of, this is what I call.
Damn it, bring back those now. That's what I call.
Now that's what I call.
That's the problem.
Right,
We don't
or
have
like
compilations anymore.
The Ultimate Party album.
It's also because we don't have Columbia House anymore.
Yeah, or Columbia. Maybe it was that had something
Because
to do with it.
when you forget to tell them you don't want a CD, and then it's like, well, now I have Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah, now I have the best of Leonard Skinner,
Exactly.
whether I want it or not.
Oh well, gonna listen.
I have it here, so might as well
listen,
put it
yeah.
on, right?
Right.
I think that maybe that's what it is, right?
That you know
Your
what?
featured selection of the month,
Right. Whether you wanted it or not.
right?
Yeah.
So that's my whole thing on these like Twitter comments. It's like, okay,
Well, number one, they're not taking into account
this is all okay. They see
that this is based on sales of all time. So
Right, but
obviously,
it's
somebody
not
who's been
okay,
around
they
for 5
see-
years.
They see like, who likes the Beatles? Like,
Right.
Who's been influenced by the Beatles? Well, pretty much all of pop music is what it is.
All you have to do is
because
watch
of the Beatles.
the Grammys. Every damn acceptance speech is pretty much like, you know, when I was sitting in my room listening to the Beatles, you know, John Lennon, you know,
Right.
but it's like, what is wrong with you people?
Right. Imagine is the greatest song ever in the history of, you know,
Esa canción para
so
mal.
people, young people or younger people, learn your music history.
Yes. Well, while you're at it, just learn all history.
Well, yes, that is true. That is true. But learn your music history. So I was watching actually something on CBS Sunday Morning.
Oh, well, it's been a while since you've mentioned them.
I know.
Ay, el solecito.
I know. And I thought it was very interesting. They had author who had written written a book called Fault Lines.
Okay.
And
Like the earthquake.
No.
Fault lines?
Well, it's called Fault Line.
No, but I'm saying that like fault lines like in an earthquake.
Yes, but
Okay.
it's not about earthquakes.
I know it's not about earthquakes, but
It's called Fault Lines, Fractured Families, and How to Mend Them. And basically, it was the book really goes into people that like really never talk to family members again. They have fights with them or disagreements with them, and they never talk to them again.
so family estrangement.
Yes, the complete family estrangement. And I mean, they looked at, they had all these cases of people, like they had this woman that when she was in her early 20s, she got pregnant and her mom never spoke to her again. Never, ever spoke to her again.
Wow.
And then you name it, another lady that she wasn't happy with who her daughter got married with. And again, they eventually reconciled, but after like 40 years, like
Jesus.
all this type of stuff. And do you know what I was thinking when all this was going on?
If they're all white.
Yes. That's what I was thinking. I'm sure that this does happen in Hispanic families.
In all cultures.
It
right.
happens, you know, especially Hispanic families, you know, we could be so close-minded, especially about things with sexuality and stuff like that.
Right.
We're still very close-minded. But on the most part, I'm like, this I don't think happens as much in Latin families.
It's interesting because I think that in Latin families, as much as we don't talk about certain things, right? Like there's certain taboo subjects or whatever. By the same token, there's not that waspishness or whatever, where we may not talk about something, but eventually we may just blow up. Have it out.
I think Hispanic families have the initial like apocalyptic blowout.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like you may not do it initially, but when it comes, it comes, and you don't.
Many times it's both verbal and physical. You don't say la piñacera, you know.
Minimum, something's flying across the room.
Right, and then the dust settles, and then it's not that they accept it, but they're like, you know, you're my son, you're my daughter.
Right.
I'm not going to be estranged from you.
Right. Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if I'm not happy with
I may not agree with your choices,
or what you've done with your life, and you know, I'm going to give you the side eye
But I'm
forever.
here.
But
I will be here if you need me.
especially when there's kids involved.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because I know from people that I know that there was a lot of issues that the moment that kids were involved,
changes everything.
It's not that the issues
went
don't
away.
exist,
Right.
but for the sake of the kids,
It sort of refocuses things.
right? And that's what I kept thinking about this. I'm like,
Do we know? Or
like I would love to do like a study like about that.
based on, well, did they show the families that they spoke to or no?
All the families were white.
Okay,
the ones that
right,
CBS Sunday
right.
Morning. All the ones that they were like, oh, you know, this is my story, were white.
Okay.
But I'm like,
I'm curious.
I wonder in like, and even like black families, because I think that black families are more similar to Hispanic families in that sense. That there's a very big sense of family and like the grandparents and all that, you know, through thick and thin. But you know, I was like, I don't want to say it's a white issue because again, there is estrangement in Hispanic families. You know, like
it happens across the board.
When it's things, when you're talking about like sexual abuse
Sí,
or
pero
stuff
bueno.
like that.
Right.
Yeah, that's a different.
That's a different
layer.
level, yeah.
But under that,
Right. Before we get to that,
before we
extreme,
get to that, you know, I know, like I think that we just.
You may find like I mean within my family, like there's been, you know, amongst my aunts and uncles, like there's been, you know, they don't talk for a couple years, but then, you know, they make up Like
Right,
it's
but you know, okay,
but they don't stop going to family events where the other one is.
That's what I was about to say.
Right.
Exactly. That's what I was
Right,
about
right.
to say. Because I feel that like with these family estrangements, it's really like you are dead to me.
Right. You're not.
Like,
I'm not showing up anywhere.
I don't
Yeah.
know if you're alive. I don't know if you're dead. I
Right,
don't know if you got
right,
married. I
right.
don't know where you live. I don't know where you live.
Yeah, that's weird.
Right?
That's weird.
Because even with his, again, like you said, in your family and in my family, right? There have been issues where people have like maybe temporarily stopped talking to each other. There's been conflict, pero siempre está like, oye, ¿cómo anda fulano? To like a third person.
Exactly.
Like, está bien.
Okay.
No, or un velorio. Un velorio is a family reunion.
Velorios, Nochebuenas, like
Ay, viste que ahí llegó Mirta. Qué vieja está Mirta, you know? And because you and Mirta had a fight 20 years ago, right?
yeah.
But again, yeah, like in Hispanic families, I don't think that there's that like
You're dead to me.
estrangement in the sense that you don't even know where that person lives. Like you don't know their phone. Like I can't imagine. Again, I'm sure there are. But to the extent that we're talking here with like more Anglo families, that you don't know where your son or daughter lives. You don't know any connection. You don't have any connection, any friend, any nothing. That like if you wanted to contact your kid now,
you have nowhere to start.
You don't know. They could live in Timbuktu, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, again, like you said, I'm sure it happens, but no, I don't think. I think that's eso cosa americano.
Yeah.
You know, yeah,
Stephanie would. It's white.
that's some white nonsense.
I mean, I don't want to call it white nonsense because I mean, I would think that you know people that go through
there's reasons. There's a reason.
You know,
legitimate.
it's a very sad thing. It's a very very tragic thing, right? Because what we were saying, it's like it's almost worse to be estranged from a family member than if they were dead.
Well, because they're still there.
Right.
They're there, and
so it's a very painful thing. But I just think that like. That's something, and we've talked. That's another thing we've talked about here in the podcast forever. That was one of the things I really noticed when I, lived in Michigan. Between
okay, who's playing the bingo? Because we've got CBS Sunday morning Michigan. If he says the view is coming out. If he says the view, you have to take a drink.
But you know what? I haven't been quoting referencing none of the three.
I know
recently a lot.
I know.
But that's one of the biggest things I really noticed while I was gone. I was like, my friends, which are very, very dear friends of mine, did not have the relationship with their parents that I did. Like, one of my friends...
Or even a fraction of that. Because you're very close to your parents. So let's say they weren't to that level, but they're just like the complete polar opposite.
Like, one of my friends, their parents lived an hour away from where we were at. And they wouldn't see them until, like, the end of the term.
Yeah.
I'm like... me? I would have lived at home. I would have just commuted.
Yeah, like that's commuter distance, kids. Yeah, or at the very least every other weekend or something. I mean,
every other weekend. No, moment that my class ended on Thursday, I would ir para casa mamá.
But I'm saying, vamos a decir más extrañado.
If I lived an hour away from school and I was away, right? I was an hour and a half away. Like, let's say West Palm Beach.
Okay.
I could just imagine my mom calling me during the week when I'm in West Palm. Oye, acuérdate de traerme la ropa cuando vengas el jueves para lavarla.
Pero see, to this day, I do my laundry at my parents' house.
Porque hay que lavarla y plancharla. Acuérdate que no se te olvide.
My mother texts me every Friday. ¿Tú vienes a la casa este fin de semana a lavar la ropa? So, yes.
Do you remember, though, like, in terms of my family, what was the first big move that my family had?
You?
No, it was Roger. So my cousin, listeners, my cousin, he's a journalist, the infamous and famous Emmy Award winning.
Actually, his interview is another lost episode because we never ran it.
Do we have it somewhere?
I think I still have it somewhere, but we never ran it.
The lost episodes.
Yes.
The rarities.
B-sides.
So my Emmy Award winning journalist cousin Roger.
Yes, Roger Borges, the Univision.
One of his first, if not his first, like big job as a reporter was for NBC in West Palm Beach, and he got this job, and it was at NBC. It was a big deal.
Yeah. It's the local affiliate.
So obviously he had to move to West Palm Beach.
Well, because when you're a reporter, you have to be available at a moment's notice. Yeah.
I mean, Roger used to come home every Friday. When I mean home, I mean Miami, and he'd be at home
until Sunday.
And sometimes during the week, if something came up, he'd drive down,
like a birthday or something.
Right. And I'll never forget that when he moved, like a few days later, I'm at my aunt's house, and she is crying unconsolable. Like she was unconsolable. And I'm like, pero qué te pasa? And she's like, el Rogelito se fue. And I'm like, but he's in West Palm Beach.
You can get on 95
He
and
is
just go
2 counties up. And that's, you know, and again, in Anglo families, it's very normal and natural and expected for the kid at 18 to go away for school.
Right.
Whereas here, it's like, no.
Right? Why?
With our family, it's like, no.
Why are you leaving? Si el equipo está bien.
Como me dijo mi papá, you can go to 3 places. You can go to FIU, you can go to Miami-Dade, or you can go to UM. You pick the. You could pick.
You have options.
You have options.
You have
can pick the
options.
3. And I was like, well.
Él nos está mandando. He's like the Grammys. You can come, but you have to apologize.
Yeah, so yeah, estrangement, fault lines.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, it's again, it just seems like a very white thing.
Yeah, we stick. I don't want to say we stick to, what is it, through mud? No,
through thick and thin.
Yes,
blood is thicker than water.
Yes,
all that,
I've never really gotten that, but whatever.
Well, blood is thicker than water.
Well, yeah, but
it's much more viscous.
I just never say that.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what did you understand? It's just biology. So, our guests this week are actually an example of, familial bonds sticking together. And I don't know. I know blood is thicker than water. I don't know if it's thicker than rum.
But, that's a good one.
But we have with us this week Eric and Josie, the co-founders of Rum Palante, which is one of the first, or I don't know if it's one of the first, but it's a immigrant forward, shall we say, spirit brand, and they really embrace the Latinidad, not just as fellow Cuban Americans, but they also have other, Hispanic, Latino communities and cultures within their company, and they're blowing up and they're doing some great things. So of course, we gotta talk to Cuban Americans who decide to do a cool thing, and without further ado, here's our interview with the co-founders of Ron Palante.
Sometimes here in Miami, we complain that, like, compared to New York City and other older cities, we don't have a lot of traditions here and a lot of things that, our parents did and our grandparents did. But there's a pretty big tradition here in Dade County that for the last 69 years has been around. We love it. It's one of our favorite things to do, and that's the fair.
Yeah. November 18th through December 5th, we've got the fair, which we've talked about so many times on the show.
We have.
I mean, it's a tradition for us.
We stand the fair.
Last year was really kind of painful for us not going to the fair.
I know. It was Corona and all that, but
we felt it.
But it's like, wait, we have a pandemic and they canceled the fair? I mean,
come on, people.
But this year, the fair is back.
Yes, they are. And they are taking safety precautions, but they still have hand sanitizers everywhere.
Yeah.
So they are definitely taking
And it really is, seriously speaking, it really is a great tradition, and it is great entertainment, whether you are grandma or you're just a little kid.
It's the definition of fun for the whole family.
It really, really is. And it doesn't matter what age you're in, because there really is something for everybody. And again, the whole tradition thing is very important. I grew up going to the fair. Yeah. There's pictures of me as like a 2-year-old at the fair, and now I could take my son to the fair and
true.
go down the same midway I went and all that. And that is definitely a Dade County tradition.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad it's back, especially, it's a little cooler this time of year when we get to go. So that should be fun as well. So, what are we waiting for?
So remember, everybody, November 18th through December 5th, the fair is back. So the fair,
be there. Oye, the holidays are here, and you know what that means.
Déjame ver. Turkey, cranberry sauce, sweet potatoes, ham.
No. More like lechon, yuca, buñuelos, and tamales.
Bueno, then it's a good thing that Sedano Supermarket has all these delicious food items and more, including turrón and beverages, como la sidra.
Is it even a party if you don't have sidra pa un brindis?
I don't think so.
No.
And the best part is that you can order a fully cooked holiday meal from Sedano's, o sea, amigo con todos los hierros.
And none of the little de cabeza.
Así mismo. So head over to sedanos.com to find the Sedano supermarket near you and their weekly specials.
So visit today. After all, Sedanos has the flavors and savings you love. Pero let me tell you. All right, oye mi gente. So, as we mentioned, you know, there's one thing we like to do on this show is have the occasional drink. You know, here and there, we like to have a little alcohol, a little liquor. So, of course, and you know, we like to spotlight locals done good and people who are really just putting a good name out there for us Cuban Americans. So today we have with us two of the co-founders of Rum Palante, Eric Zurita, who is also the CEO, and Josie Ortega, who is also the CFO. So thank you both for joining us on Pero Let Me Tell You.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Now, I love the fact that you all wear many hats.
Yeah, that's part of just, you know, being part of a startup is you really have to do anything that is asked of you. There's a lot of things that all of us sort of help with in the company, and yeah.
So I wanted to tell you guys, full disclosure. Yeah. When I first came across your brand, I'm very I'm very good friends with several organizers and people that are involved in Cubanos Palante. So when I first saw your brand, I'm like, oh my God, is Cubanos Palante doing like a brand? Like, this is so awesome. But then I realized that it's you know, you're a separate company, so it's more Palante. So, you know, that's it's great. You know, we're going Palante one way or another. So so tell us how all this started, because it's not every day that somebody just starts a rum, you know, brand or rum company.
Sure. I can get into that, but I do want to say that we're very familiar with the people over at Cubanos Palante. Actually, we're good friends by now with Mike Rivera over there, and they did a giveaway one time for these bucket hats. But we're big fans of each other. There's no issue with having the same name. Palante.
Palante one, yeah.
Pa atrás ni pa coger impulso, as they say.
Exacto. Bueno, sí, I can tell you sort of how the whole thing started. Basically, it has to do with our family. You know, together with me today is Josie, as we established my prima tia, who's our CFO. And then there's two other family members, actually. There's my younger brother, who's helping us on the sales side, and then there's my dad. And the whole thing really started with him. Both my parents were actually chemical engineers back in Cuba. Oh, wow. And my dad specifically distilled rum for Havana Club. So after my dad actually, he got a master's in chemical engineering, and his placement right after his master's was at the biggest Havana Club distillery on the island, which is in Santa Cruz. It's like east of Havana. And yeah, so my dad distilled rum for a few years in the 80s, and then he left Cuba in 94, and I came with my mom in 97, and I grew up hearing stories about his heyday making rum on the island, and that really, you know, sparked an interest in the industry in me from a young age. And so I worked in service and hospitality from the time I was 15. Started as a barback, you know, worked tiki bars in college to pay for college, fine dining, craft beer in New York, you name it, I've done it. And yeah, that's sort of where the whole thing started, is with my dad.
Nice. So obviously you come from a long line of rumiliers. I don't know what's the proper term for that. You know,
in Spanish, I would say roneros.
Okay.
You know, I'm the second in line to carry on the tradition. Not sure what if there's a good translation in English for that. Yeah.
So at what point did you say, you know what, this is part of my heritage. This is who I am. But let me actually go forth and make this rum, and let me rope in the rest of my family into this.
Yeah, I mean, rum was always a part of my life. Like it was the first spirit that I drank. We always had bottles of Havana Club in the house, and so I always hear of like my friends and friends of friends' experiences with rum. You know, usually starting in high school or college, and they're very different from mine because I was drinking better stuff than they were.
Yeah, they're all drinking chipetring, and you were drinking like classy, top shelf stuff. That's the difference, sir.
Yeah, but you know, it's always been part of my life and my heritage, and I've always it's sort of been part of my identity from a young age. But what sparked the idea really was I worked for an organization in DC in my mid-20s that was funded by the top 12 alcohol producers in the world. So like Riccardi, Diageo, Pernod Ricard, Brown-Forman, all those big companies funded us. And part of my job was to do research on the alcohol industry. That was sort of my day-to-day job. Mm-hmm. And then I was also rubbing elbows with like executives at those companies and learning about how they rolled out the products, what they did and did not want consumers to know about their products. And so that was really an education on like the alcohol industry specifically, mm-hmm. which was different from being in service and hospitality. And so when I was working there, one Christmas I came home to Florida, and Josie was spending that Christmas with us, and I consider Josie like the genius of the family. She's the brain.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing you consider her that, considering she's CFO. That is a very wise choice.
Yeah, so in addition to that job, I was also making craft cocktails at a craft distillery in DC at that time. And I came home with this light bulb that had gone off, and I sat my dad and Josie down, and I said, I don't know how we're gonna do it. I know we have no money. I've never raised money before, but we need to start our own business. And I said, Dad, do you know how to make the liquid? Josie, you can help us run the books, help us on the business side of things. And I know how to run a bar now, and I can help, my dad with the manual labor. And that was almost 7 years ago now. And that was sort of the first time I said, I need to do this with my family.
Wow. So this has been 7 years in the making, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah, the idea has been around for that long.
I'm making rum, so now let's make the rum. Like, how do you actually, did you have to build a distillery?
That was the original sort of plan, was we were going to raise money to build our own brick and mortar distillery, and my dad was going to be the one to sort of make the stuff, right?
And then Josie said, no dinero.
Exactly. Exactly. We pretty quickly realized that was a very capital intensive endeavor.
When we were shopping for real estate, absolutely.
Josie was like, where are we going to build this? Because like Doral is the only place, and things are very expensive over there. So yeah, I mean, we were working on a plan for a while, but it wasn't until right before the pandemic that we sort of realized there were companies out there sort of outsourcing the production to big experienced distilleries around the world already. And that business model just made a whole lot more sense to us. We could find a producer, a distillery that was already in existence, had the experience, had aged products, so we wouldn't have, because if we built our own distillery, we would have to wait years before we could start selling aged rum. Yeah, so we sort of started sourcing. I started calling up producers from around the world, start conversations and see who we want to partner with. We got rums from all over Latin America, from Europe, and we ended up partnering with somebody that's actually now super strategic because it allows us to produce really innovative stuff. The maestro Avanero at the distillery we ended up with is actually a former colleague of my dad's at Havana Club. We worked there together in Cuba. And when we told Jorge, my dad told Jorge that this is what we were doing now, and he said, like, you have to try our rums that we make here in Chiapas, and they ended up being the best.
That's awesome. So, now you have a distillery, that you're working with. You found a partner. Josie has let you have the money to do it because she's the genius, as you said. What is it though about your rum, right? Because we've all walked into a liquor store, right? And we've seen just umpteen amounts of brands, and some are better, some are worse, some are essentially the same. They just swap the label. Let's be honest. There's a lot of variety out there, but what is it about you guys? Obviously, you have the history with your dad's experience and all that, but what is it about your rum that really stands out? That is really something that makes you pop?
From my perspective, what we're trying to do is change the face of rum. And typically what you see out there are very traditional, like old fogey, like, your spiced rum, your white rum.
True.
There's also this perception that, you can only sip rum if it's in a piña colada or in a daiquiri, daiquiri.
Or con Coca-Cola, like, yeah.
Exactly, Cuba Libre, like that's it. Otherwise, there's people out there that don't really get to fully enjoy like the rum experience, which is what we would like to introduce people to. So we want to like heighten the experience, like show consumers that, hey, you can sip it neat, you can sip it in a cocktail, you can do it on the rocks, you can do shots, On another level, we've also done something different in terms of our flavors. Our current product offering is not your traditional rum. You're going to see we're currently offering, yes, the white rum, because, you kind of need a white rum for people, to get to know you. That's what people think of when they think of rum sometimes. But we have a ginger basil that's, incredibly popular. Very sexy, very popular, especially among women. Even some people that you would not think are traditional rum drinkers have now been exposed to our flavors, and they're like, oh wow, this is totally different. We have a coffee flavor that's amazing.
I can't wait to try that one, by the way.
We have the dark horse, like the one that requires a little bit of education because it's just so different, but when people finally get it, they get it, and that's our Avanero Rum. So that's actually, it's not initially we were trying to create a chili rum.
Okay.
But it's actually not super spicy. It has like a sweet and smoky note. And it's a combination of an habanero pepper and orange peel.
Oh, that sounds good. And I'm not one for spice, so.
It's not. It's more, it would compare to like even a whiskey. Like a lot of our rums, for example, the ginger basil, you could kind of compare to like a gin in terms of the flavor palette.
It's interesting you say that because the thought that was going through my head when you were saying, we want to change the way people consume rum to be more of like, you can sip it, you can have it on the rocks, you can have it straight. It did sound very much like you were trying to go after like that whiskey mentality. And then in a weird way, go with me on this. The way that you mentioned, that the ginger flavor was being embraced really by women. I feel like that's also a little bit of how you have all the flavored vodkas. So it just seems to me like you guys are seeing what's being done out there and saying, okay, how can we adapt this to rum in a way that isn't weird? Because at the end of the day, you can't have like, you can do cotton candy flavored vodka. I don't think that will work with rum.
I've had bacon flavored beer and it just didn't work for me. We don't want to get that crazy. No.
From what Josie's talking about, it's true. Like we really have something that will appeal to all types of drinkers. Like like Josie said, your gin drinker might be more into the botanical, your whiskey more into the habanero. But then also from a brand perspective, I think, I mentioned earlier that part of my job at that organization in DC was to do alcohol research. When I was working there and in craft distilling, I would notice that both Big Alcohol's legacy brands and the craft distilleries putting out brands across the country, none of them are really catering to the Latino community in any way, especially not in an authentic way. And so from a brand perspective, like we're really bringing something new to the table. Not just with our name, but every product, for example, all the 4 products that Josie mentioned, each one has a different Latin American hero on it, and we educate the consumer a bit about the hero on the back label of the bottle. So from a brand perspective, we're also coming out with something really new that isn't really being done across spirits categories.
That really came across because on your website you do mention like Jose Marti a couple times. And so that's definitely something that you are putting at the front and center, that this is not just, quote unquote, another rum.
Right.
That's actually what I wanted to ask next, because, whether you're going down the route of a Cuban rum, since you guys are Cuban, or just a Latin American rum, there's so many stereotypical images to make it familiar to consumers. But you guys have a very, very specific aesthetic and branding. So talk to us a little bit about like that thought process, as you said, to put heroes on the bottles.
Yeah, it was really an evolution because, as you said, most of us on the team are Cuban, but there's a couple other countries represented in our team. There's Mexico, there's Colombia. And what we ended up deciding is we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves as a Cuban company or a Cuban rum. Our white rum is Cuban style, but really we're a Mexican rum. We're made in Chiapas. We thought hard about it, and we realized, you know what? Our most of our experiences on the team is really as U.S. Latinos. So that's really the demographic that we're doing our best to represent, is Latinos, whether you're born in Latin America or born here, who really have been Americanized, as Josie and I have, or really love and accept the American culture that we're a part of just as much as our Latin culture and heritage, right? So
it's at 200% Latino.
Exactly. 100% American and 100% Latino. And so we started with Marti because that was the first product that we developed, was the white rum. There's no better hero if you're going to make a Cuban style white rum than Jose Marti, right?
I mean, it was either him or Celia Cruz, let's face it. There's only...
Exactly. But then, we looked into, we talked to our lawyers and we said, who can we put on the bottle, because we don't want any issues. And for Celia Cruz, you're going to have to contact her estate, and then they're going to want a piece of the profits. So I was like, I love Celia, but and then, once we realized that, we said, this is a really good opportunity. In general, we were like, this is a really good opportunity to showcase Latin American historical figures that some, even from within our community, might not be aware of. To be honest with you, when we were coming up with the other heroes, the only one that I was already familiar with was Sor Juana for the botanical rum. But the Bencos and Leftraru for the coffee and Avanero were ones that, in us doing research into who we could possibly put, is really when we found them and we learned more about them. And another thing we wanted to do with the heroes is sort of showcase the diversity within our community, right? Because I hear from so many friends, whether they're white or black, they're like, oh, people look at me and they don't see a stereotypical Latino, right? In my own family, I have Afro-Cubanos and I have a pelirroja. We wanted to showcase the diversity within our community as well. And so we have, Bencos, who was a slave in Colombia, runaway slaves, established the first free village in the Americas. And then Leftrado, who was a Mapuche hero in the Peru-Chile region.
That's fantastic. I mean, that you guys are really, again, when most people think of liquor, they're not thinking of learning, but you guys are taking that opportunity to really just drive the point home that we're not a monolith.
Were you going to say something, Joey?
Yeah, we also want people to connect, right, with the spirit of the hero. So at the end of the day, what makes that hero a hero? So our tagline for Marti, for example, is "Dream like Marti, hustle like an immigrant." Because I think that we're dreamers, but at the end of the day, if you don't have the hustle to back up that dream, then you go nowhere.
Oh my God, I can't tell you how much I love that. I'm sitting in how much I love it right now. Just basking in that beautiful phrase.
Each of our heroes has a particular tagline with what we want people to feel. So we really want to tap into that nostalgia that comes from, that what that person achieved in their life, and what we're hoping you as a consumer, this will inspire you to achieve in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something I wanted to ask you guys, something I've noticed, and I don't really know much about, the spirits industry, is so many celebrities just slapping their name on, whether it's a vodka, I don't know so much on rums, but specifically on vodka and tequila and all this stuff. And you can make it an argument that there's a certain amount of, if you want to call it, appropriation, because I always say, what does Kylie Jenner know about tequila? And whereas you guys, here we are talking about, your dad, and it runs in your family, and, putting all these heroes, and you have such an authentic take on it. Do you guys have a take or an opinion on, all these, celebrity brandings that just slap their name on something?
The face... Eric's face says un poema, as we say.
we talk about this all the time on the team, and it's and I laugh because it's an ongoing conversation. Partly because of what you say, Darian, because there's new brands coming out with a celebrity all the time. But also, as we've been fundraising over the past year to raise money to start the company, we get this question from investors all the time. It's I've even had an investor say, "This sounds amazing, come back to me when you have a celebrity. And so, I actually, my personal opinion is that there is a way to bring a celebrity on board and have them be part of your spirits company. I think the way that a lot of these brands have done it has not been to my liking or my taste, how I would do it. I think, there's one example I could throw out is, for example, Aviation Gin was around for a long time before Ryan Reynolds ever became a part of it. Mm-hmm. And, they had a multi-$100 million valuation as a company before Ryan Reynolds came on board and liked the gin so much that he wanted to invest in it, right? So he bought a majority stake, and now he's still part of the brand, promoting it, and it's kind of considered his gin, right? I think that's a decent way to do it. The example you brought up, it's not Kylie, it's Kendall, by the way, I believe.
Oh, the poor one.
I don't think she's going to be for much longer with 818, but yeah, to answer one of your questions, I do think there's, now that I'm bringing up Kendall, I think there is a lot of appropriation that's happening, because what a lot of people don't realize is that, like, agave spirits, and there's many more besides tequila and mezcal, there's sotol and so many others that have existed in Mexico for hundreds and thousands of years and are very much a part of the country and its traditions. And to not sort of highlight those traditions at all in your brand, and then in Kendall's case, completely like make the brand name an area code that has nothing to do with Mexico, is just kind of taking it to an even worse place. But for us, I think we're open to bringing on a celebrity. I think for the sake of longevity as a company, we want to be doing this we want this to be a company that we hand down to our kids and grandkids. We want this to Palante to be around for a very long time. And there's just no way to have longevity without kind of using this as part of your strategy now. But for us, what that means is that ideally, what we'd want is a celebrity to see us out there. We've launched officially already, so we're out there without a celebrity. See us, love our products, and want to invest in us. I think that's a key part of it, is they should invest their own money into our brand. And then also, they need to be okay with endorsing it, but not calling it their brand.
Well, yeah, the legacy you guys are working towards is the Ron Palante legacy, not the Gloria Estefan, Pitbull, whomever comes along and right. loves the brand, right? That's not what it is about.
Like our family values, and that pillar needs to always be a part of the company, regardless of what celebrities might come and go.
You guys have officially launched, so...
Yeah.
You can go to Ron Palante. It's ronpalante.com, right?
Correct.
Where they can go and get all the rums that are there.
But it's such an awesome story, because I think that, one of the things that we always, it's one of the reasons why we did this podcast and why we started some years back, is because for so long, we felt like you guys felt like, okay, we're Cuban, we're Latin, but we're American too, and like nobody really understands us. Only other people like us understand each other, and I think that now, we're in a place where there's so many like innovators, influencers, products that are out for us, for people like us, and it's so important for voices like yours and products like yours to be around. That we are our own set of people, if you will. So I think it's great. I love the story. I love what it represents, the heritage. It's a heritage. It's not just rum. There's a heritage behind it, and that's very important when we tell our stories. So congratulations to all of you on that. It's quite remarkable.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah, I would add that our meetings are kind of like therapy, right? So we talk about what does it, like, you're Latin, what does that mean? What is the Latin experience? What does that entail? If I don't speak proper Spanish, am I still Latin? Yes, you are. If I'm blonde with blue eyes, am I Latin? Yes, you are. If I have an American boyfriend, that I bring to my family gatherings, am I still Latin? Or, if I have
No, I'm kidding.
So we really dig in deep into what does it mean to be Latin in this country in this day and age.
Before we end our chat, I want to ask a question. Okay, have you now you may have a combined answer, you may each have a different answer, but all right. I've gone to rompalante.com, I've placed my order. It's Nochebuena. I've got a bottle. What's the drink I should make? How should I enjoy? Like each of you, I guess, pick one flavor, right? And how should we enjoy that particular one? Didn't know there'd be a quiz, did you?
Yeah, I'm like, I have so many answers, but I'm trying to pick one thing. So, Josie, if you want to start.
I mean, my personal favorite is the coffee. Okay. So I'm either going to sip coffee on the rocks, or I'm going to have one of our featured shots on the website, which is 50% coffee, 50% ginger basil.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Look at you cheating, finding a workaround over here.
She's like, buy 2 bottles.
Right. You are the CFO. For me, when you asked that question, I was thinking more about like the food and what I would pair with the food. And so what Josie started out with, the coffee is the first thing that came to mind is like, I would be eating, flan for dessert, and I would be drinking. Get out of my head. Neat. That's exactly where my mind went when she said the coffee. Yeah, it's incredible. I did that this Thanksgiving. I had a little bit of coffee meat on the side with my flan, and it was so fucking good. And am I allowed to curse on the podcast? Sorry, I curse a lot. Too late now. Fine. Here we are trying to keep a G-rated podcast. It was so good. No, it's okay, man. It's okay. But with the meal, I would probably make a cocktail with a botanical. I think it's not on the website yet. We're going to put it on there pretty soon, but we actually just created like our own version of a tonic it's like super refreshing. We actually top it off with cucumber soda water specifically, but it's got a botanical rum, lemon, simple, and it's just like a super refreshing cocktail, and it goes really well with yuca con mojo. So those would be my 2 answers. I mean, you had me at yuca and then flan. I mean, come on, guy. Like, come on. I mean, you know what they say? Know your audience. And clearly you did. You know your target demographic, sir. Yeah. So that's a good question. All right. Well.
Yeah, you didn't say our rum with like an apple tart. Like,
It's also good.
Peach cobbler.
Exactly.
Although I'm sure they pair well with those two.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Eric, Josie, again, we can't say this enough. Your story and just the fact that you and your team are doing this and really putting, your heritage first and doing it in a way that's, meaningful and really pays respect, not just to our shared, as Cuban Americans, background, but also expanding that to be about Latin America, Hispanic, Latino, however you identify, right? Really just, it's so fantastic. And it's really, again, what we strive to spotlight here, really making sure that everybody understands that telling our story, we're just one voice. There's multiple voices out there, and we love to spotlight as many of them as we can. And your rum, I can only see fantastic things because, I mean, it's in the name, guys. Palante.
And I just want to say to you guys, thank you for creating this platform because, we can create the company, but if we don't have the platforms like this in which to share, the product and our story, it would be that much more difficult to reach the people that we're out here representing. So thank you guys for having us on.
No. Our pleasure. And, next time that you're in Miami, we got to do this in person next time is basically what I'm saying.
For sure. Well, Josie's there. Josie's a native. She's always
Josie's in Westchester where we grew up.
I know. And did you guys grow up there?
Yep.
Yeah. Southwest High.
Yep.
Nice. But yeah, I'm in town all the time, so we'll definitely have to meet up.
So that was pretty awesome. They were great.
Yes, they were. Well, you didn't do your little catchphrase.
What?
And we're back.
And we're back.
You know, our listeners have a certain expectation
Yes, they
of
do.
you saying certain things.
They do.
We do hear about this.
It's only been 185 episodes and 4 seasons.
We've trained them well.
4 seasons.
Yeah.
Not the hotel.
Not Frankie Valley Ann.
Not winter, spring, summer, and fall.
No.
Winter, spring, summer, and fall.
All you gotta do. That's
Carole King.
Carole King. Thank you. Yeah. I'm surprised that wasn't still in the top 10.
Right. Tapestry.
Tapestry. I'm sure it's still in the top 100.
You know what's so interesting now that we were talking about music and Billboard charts a little bit earlier. So this past week was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yes, that's right.
And actually, I think Carole King was inducted because
No,
was it Carole King?
No, it wasn't. Tina Turner was. The Go-Go's were. Jay-Z.
Okay, why was there something there of Carole King though? Somebody didn't.
Maybe she
No,
was
somebody
there?
sang a Carole King's song. Okay, the point I'm trying to make is, have you ever been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
No, I haven't. I've always wanted to go.
I've been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, if you love music, it's amazing. I mean, when I went, one of my favorite things was when you walked in, they had the original neon lights of Zoo TV from U2 from their tour,
cool.
and they had the hanging tremblants, the cars
Uh-huh.
that were part of their tour of Zoo TV. It was whatever. I geeked out for a moment. Anyway. I mean, I love the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but like everything else, it has its certain politics and red tape and all that. Do you know who is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? And I actually learned about it on CBS Sunday morning.
Drink.
Freaking Pat Benatar.
She's not?
She is not. And they point blank asked her, does it bother her? And she's like, yeah. Like, she's like, look, I don't think about it and it would be nice.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's not going to define, whatever.
Right.
But it's like, shit, if somebody deserves to be there,
That's
it's
true.
Pat Benatar's a badass.
She is. I don't think she gets the respect that she deserves in general.
You know what's funny about her is that when they talk about like the greatest women in
Rock,
they name her. They
She's
do.
always there.
But she's always there, but she's not like on the top. And I think that she should definitely be on the top.
Yeah.
Because she's so freaking like her songs are so I love Pat Benatar.
She writes her music. She has a great voice.
I would love to see her in concert. Like Love Is a Battlefield is such a good song.
They tour every once in a while, her and her husband.
Love it, and the Billie Jean song.
That is one of my Invincible.
We will be invincible. Fair is fair.
Freaking love that song.
That's such a good song. The one of hers that everybody likes and I'm a little whatever about is We Belong to Na.
I mean, it's a pretty song.
To me, that song is up there with Whitney Houston's The Greatest Love of All. Like, they sang those songs so much in kids' recitals that it's like, I feel I have a cavity when I hear that song now.
It has nothing to do with the song itself. It's
God, how many school recitals in like the 80s did Greatest Love of All? Like, I think in Cyprus we did it every year. Like, The Greatest Love of All. I'm like, oh, please. So, yeah, Justice for Pat Benatar. So...
Lord.
Well, no, it's soda time.
It is soda time. So, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'm going to go first.
Dale.
So, I'm actually going to give my last soda this week to CNN, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay. CNN suspended.
Cuomo.
Yes,
Chris Cuomo.
Yes. And you know the whole thing that happened.
I mean, summarize it in a nutshell. I do, but go ahead. So his brother is Governor Cuomo from New York.
Yes, Governor Cuomo from New York. Do you remember the whole thing of their father was Mario Cuomo, right? Yeah. You know the whole thing. Okay. So as we know, Andrew Cuomo was a governor of New York, and he resigned amid controversy and sexual misconduct allegations, so on and so forth. Chris Cuomo had said on the air that he was not going to talk about his brother's case back when all these allegations started coming up. Fair enough.
It's his brother.
It's his brother. Fair enough. And Andrew Cuomo was on his show a lot, right? And they would bicker.
Well, listen, and as we literally just had an entire conversation about, family is a thing, and they're Italian,
right?
So yeah,
so that's fine. But news came out recently now that Chris Cuomo, the CNN host, was using his connections and his access as a journalist and reporter to look into his accusers. right?
Okay.
Like really into them. We don't know what he did with this information, and this information was not held. Like he didn't use it publicly, but he looked into them, right? And you know that's a huge. Is it illegal? Probably not from a legal perspective, but from an ethical perspective, it's a really big no-no. And you know what? This is what I think. If that would have been a concern, if that would have been on Fox News, right? That like. It would have been reversed. That are like a Republican governor and his brother.
Or let's just say the Cuomos have been Republican, and
and it would have been on Fox News. We would have been screaming bloody murder, right? Right. So the same standard has to be applied
across the board.
Yeah. And I think that CNN did the right thing. In whether CNN did it because they were under pressure, whether they did it for other reasons, who knows? But they did suspend him indefinitely.
Yeah.
And I think that they needed to do that because if they are going to have some type of journalistic integrity, especially since they're always being attacked by the right and conservative media, then they need to live up to that standard. So my soda goes up to CNN for for suspending Chris Cuomo?
For having journalistic integrity. That's
journalistic
right.
integrity.
Journalistic integrity. Yes. So my last soda is it's a posthumous last soda. This past week was the passing of Stephen Sondheim, one of possibly the greatest composers, lyricists
really left out
of the Broadway musical.
You know why?
Because you're not a musical person?
No, because like all these people on social media were like pretty much pouring out their life of how amazing he was and the influence. I'm like, I don't know anything. Like I felt so like,
well, he wrote the lyrics for West Side Story.
Do you know the only song I know of West Side Story?
America?
No.
I Feel Pretty?
No.
Geoffrey Krupke?
No.
Somewhere?
The only song of West Side Story I know is A Boy Like That, and that's because it was
Selena.
Sung by Selena. It's some tribute album they did.
This is why we can't have nice things.
That's
Darian.
why when she says "very smart Maria," I'm like, "Who's Maria?" Like, okay, wait. How do you solve a problem like Maria? No, that's Carrie Underwood. Face fell.
That is wow. That is a Sound of Music.
The Sound of Music gazebo in Salzburg. I've been there. Wow, that's how my brain is working.
So anyway, Sondheim, and I'm saying this to you listeners, but I'm also saying it to Darian. Sondheim was actually the composer and lyricist. Some of his best known works are Company, Follies, A Little Night Music, Sweeney Todd, Merrily We Roll Along, Sunday in the Park with George, and my personal favorite, Into the Woods, which I think is so underappreciated. Like that song at the end, Children Will Listen, sung by Bernadette Peters, is just... It just gives me goosebumps. Like, it's just such a beautiful song. So, Stephen Sondheim, wherever you are, I thank you for all, like ABBA, I thank you for the music. And your influence will be felt for many, many, many years to come. And just, thanks for giving us some of the greatest musicals ever.
That I don't know any of them, but that's on me.
You don't know. Okay, you've heard of some of these, haven't you? At the very least.
Go again.
Okay, you've heard of Sweeney Todd.
Well, I thought Sweeney Todd was the movie.
Yes, but it's based on the musical.
Nope, I thought it was just the movie.
Okay, no. Into the Woods.
Nope.
You never heard of Into the Woods? They did a movie a couple years ago with Meryl Streep.
Is that the movie with James Corden?
Yes.
Okay, I know it as a James Corden movie. Okay. I didn't know that was... Okay, go ahead.
A Little Night Music?
No.
That's the one that Catherine Zeta-Jones won the Oscar for, the Tony for a couple years back.
I didn't know she had a Tony.
Yep. Follies. A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
Follies, I know Le Follies from Kylie Minogue.
No, not the same one. Okay. Well, you know West Side Story. I mean, you know of it.
I know, that one I do know of.
Yes, and he also wrote the lyrics, which I didn't know this, for Gypsy.
Okay. The reason I know Gypsy is because some years ago Debbie Gibson did Gypsy, and I remember.
Yep, she did a Broadway covers album too. Yeah.
Okay.
Where she did "Let Me Entertain You," yeah. Which is not the "Let Me Entertain You" that you know.
Okay, I was about to say, wait, Debbie Gibson did a Robbie Williams song,
which was in a musical.
Was in a musical. Wait,
yeah,
hold on.
No. So yes, so it's his impact will be felt for years and years to come.
Life well lived.
Yeah, 91. And he was working up basically up till the end.
I need to work on that.
You know what? I've tried. I give up.
Because I like.
I've tried. I give
think
up.
of myself a very well-rounded, cultured person, as we talked about.
You know what, Stephanie? If you want to give it a shot, go ahead.
I've tried, but I can't. I just can't get into it. I can't get into the talking plant. I just can't.
Okay, he didn't do Little Shop.
I know, but
Also, Little Shop is great. Whatever. You know what? We're gonna move on.
I enjoyed Phantom of the Opera.
Okay, that's Andrew Lloyd Webber. So
Right.
yes.
I enjoyed Evita,
Also Webber
but that's sort of a bias.
because of Madonna.
Yeah, and when we saw it, Ricky Martin was doing it. So, what else have I seen?
Avenue Q
Yes, but Avenue Q is
is a
just
whole other animal.
debauchery.
Yeah. If you don't like Avenue Q, there's something wrong with you.
Oh, I loved Get On Your Feet.
Well, I mean, we're Miami boys. We have to.
Do you know
It's our bylaws.
One of my favorite part of Avenue Q,
On Your
Avenue
Feet?
Q, On Your Feet is the part where they do the bar mitzvahs.
The conga.
Yes, like I loved that. Like what medley or
Yeah, it was kind of medley. Yeah.
right? I guess I like jukebox musicals,
I'm not a fan.
but you loved Get On Your Feet.
So here's the thing. I don't like jukebox musicals, but there's an asterisk. I'm okay with jukebox musicals if it is a jukebox musical that is telling the life of the person who the songs are from.
Like On Your Feet.
Like On Your Feet, like the Tina Turner musical uses her catalog. The Cher musical uses her catalog. Jersey Boys uses Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. So in those instances, I'm like, well, if you're telling me the story of this person, like, whose music are you going to use? Natalie Cole?
Right.
To tell the story of Gloria Stefan? Like, no, like
That would have been interesting.
That would have been interesting. So, in those instances, I'm like, okay,
Did Gloria Stefan ever have a pink Cadillac?
She sold Mary Kay. In those instances, I'm okay with the jukebox musical format. But like all these other musicals, that it's just like, hey guys, we're just gonna get together and sing a bunch of songs you already know. They can be fun. I'm not saying they can't be, and I can't enjoy
Which
them.
was the one you told me, the Tupac one, right? That you said it was terrible.
That was so bad. It closed in previews.
It closed in preview. So does that happen a lot?
Probably more than we know, because probably, especially back in the day before we had social media and all these things, so there were probably musicals that there have been in history. There have been musicals that have closed after 2 performances on Broadway.
Right.
So
and I feel that a Tupac, like with his catalog, it could be just amazing.
it was bad.
But it wasn't based on his life.
No. It was based on a generic, like, hey, we're on the wrong side of the tracks kind of, story.
Right. I'll never forget that.
But I saw it for free.
A few years back, when Kathy Lee was still in the Today Show, she was for months and months and months and months was talking about this musical that she wrote.
Oh yes, about this woman.
But it lasted in Broadway, or off Broadway.
I think it was off Broadway. I think it was off
like
Broadway.
for a second.
Yeah.
But it was nominated for something.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't remember. I remember it, but I don't remember the name. I don't remember anything else other than the fact that but it was off Broadway for sure.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of Kathy Lee Gifford,
I miss her.
she was this week on the Today Show again on the 4th hour with Hoda, and now this Bush girl, Jenna Bush. And I tell you all the time, Kathy Lee Gifford is such a positive energy. Like she's so positive, and I just love the fact that she's very positive. She's a Christian woman, and she just doesn't give a fuck. Like, ella dice cada disparate. That it's like, oh my gosh, I think that at this point in time, they just let her get away with it. Like,
she's been in the industry for so long, and she's been attacked for so many things.
That it's like,
what are you gonna do to me?
Yeah, what are you gonna do to me? You're gonna cancel me?
What are you gonna do to me? Enjoy, have fun.
Like, ella dice cada cosa. I'm like, did she just say that?
I can't wait to be her age and just say fuck it, just do whatever the fuck I want.
She's living her best life in
She really is.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, she's in Nashville now.
That's she left the Today Show because she wanted to move to Nashville.
Oh.
Yeah. So
we should go to Nashville.
Huh?
We should go to Nashville and see if we can find Kathy Lee.
And you know what? Actually, this week when she was,
you know what we should do though? If we do, we should go. I don't know, to some thrift store or whatever and find her CD and just take it with us. So if we bump into her, we could just be like, "Oh my god, can you sign this?"
We could be like the people who win Kathy Lee CDs,
Exactly.
The Today Show. But she was saying how last year both of her kids got married, I was like, shit, I feel so old because I remember when she was pregnant with Cody and Cassidy. She didn't shut up about it for 5 years.
How could you forget that she was pregnant with him?
Bueno,
On that note,
about that.
that's enough about Kathy Lee.
We hope you listened, laughed, and learned. And as always, remember to grab your croqueta, your pastelito, and for this episode, your palante rum.
That's right, your ron palante. Yep.
And thank you so much for joining us, guys. That was episode 185, and the holidays are almost here.
Woohoo!
So we'll see you all next week.
Yeah. Oh, maybe
Bye.
we'll see you at Croqueta Palooza. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lamleplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.